He says, I got an idea, Jesus. Just say the word. I believe you got that kind of power. Just say the word. I understand authority. I got men under me. I got 100 men under me. When I say jump, they say how high. When I say go, they go. When I say come on back, they come back. Man, I understand how this power thing works, and I know you got it all. So why don't you just say the word, and we don't even have to worry about you coming to my house. Jesus says, time out. And he looks around at all these Jews, and he says, did y'all just hear that? Do you see what just happened?
Wow.
And they're like, what? What did he say?
Yeah.
Do you see what he understands that none of y'all do? What was it that the centurion understood? What did he understand?
Power.
Power. And authority. Authority.
Amen.
You see, I work in a field where people have a problem with authority. By the way, this is the best looking crowd I'm going to see all week. Y'all look nice. Everybody's wearing different clothes. That's kind of cool. But I'm dealing with these wonderful men that somewhere along the line, a lot of them just decided, man, I'm going to fight everybody all the time. Fight my old man, my woman, my lady, my mom, my teacher, my preacher, my coach, my boss, the judge, the cop, my mama, Obama, anybody that gets in my way. I'm going to fight everybody. And guess how that worked out for them? They're wearing white with a blue stripe. How's it working out for you? See, because just because we dress up real nice, and this is a nice little crowd, you don't think we have any problem with authority in here? You like people telling you what to do? Really? I'm talking about internal struggles like, submit. I hear submit one more time. I'll show you submit. Surrender. Authority. Fight the power. So few people understand true power. And who has it? And this man got it. He said, you've got all the power. All you got to do is say the word. So today, do you believe that? Because if you believe that Jesus has all authority, and I'm not talking about a little bit. Do you know how many stars are in our galaxy? Anybody? 100 billion. Do you know how many galaxies there are? 100 billion. Do the math on that. Do you understand how big? Just to set the stage for his authority. Several years ago, a picture on Fox News got my attention. And it was a picture taken by the Hubble telescope. And it was a picture of a star blowing up. And really, you can't take a picture of a star blowing up because you can't be there when it blows up because of the immense distance involved. So this was a picture where if you'd have been out here in Rome on a nice, clear night with no moon, and you could see the stars and there's deer everywhere. Y'all got some deer up here, man. I went cow tipping at Barry one time. A whole other deal. Sorry. Oh, no, sorry, Earl. So anyway, if you'd have been looking up at this part of the night when this light showed up, a light that wasn't there would have gone bing, and it would have shown up in the sky. And you would have thought a star was just born. But you'd have been wrong. A star died. And when a star dies, it collapses on itself. And when it collapses, it does what's called a supernova. Pow! And it sprays out into the universe everything that creates everything. Even what you and I are made out of. No, especially what you and I are made out of. You know what we're made out of? Stardust. I know it sounds a little bit like the 60s, doesn't it? Stardust. So when this star collapsed on itself and boom, it shot a ray of light that started traveling at the speed of light, which is, come on, students. Somebody tell me. Say again?
286,000.
Oh, very close. 186,000. You're close though. 186,000 miles a second. Okay, it takes 8 minutes from light to go from the sun to the earth. 93 million miles light travels in 8 minutes. Okay? That's how fast. So somebody want to take a guess for how long that light had been traveling from that star that blew up by the time it got to our sky and went bing, and then they took a picture of the Hubble. Somebody guess how long that light's been traveling? A year. Anybody else? Anybody want to say more than a year? 10 years? 10 years at 186,000 miles a second? Are you serious? Anybody want to go higher? 10,000 years? Anybody think Brian's crazy? 10,000 years at 186,000 miles a second? So here's, okay, let me get you right. What he said, I'm saying it right, Brian, right? Brian is saying that 10,000 years ago, a star exploded and the light is just now getting to the planet. Anybody want to go higher? All right. That light has been traveling for 7.4 billion years.
What?
Wow. Check me on it. I'm serious. Life on this planet's only been around for 4 billion. So I'm talking about 7.5 billion years ago, a star died and started a ride at 186,000 miles a second. And then a few years ago, that light got to our planet. How big is the universe? That's only half of it. The known universe is 14 billion light years across from one side to another. And Jesus is saying, I got all that power. Ephesians says when he died and was raised again and taken up, what did he fill? He filled the universe. He's in every corner and every particle in the universe. And it's so big and he is so vast that it takes 7.5 billion years to go halfway across it at the speed of light. And you're saying that you have a problem that's too big for him. Isn't that what we're saying? Now, let's look at your problem now. Okay, what is it? Now, I'm not discounting anybody's problem. There are people in here that have been through some things. Oh, yeah. I know that. All of us have. Some of us more than others. I know that I've been blessed in my life because most of the damage I've done to myself. So I'm not minimizing anybody's pain, but I'm saying this. This guy got Jesus' attention because he said, just say the word and I know it'll happen. I know it. I know that I know that I know. There's a difference in hoping, believing, and knowing. Hope says maybe. Believe says I think so. Know says it's done. Yes. See, knowledge brings about action. Amen. And I hate to keep on bringing Keith and Stephanie into it, but if they're still sitting in their living room going, should we? Should we not? Is it God's will? Don't know. Is anybody going to be with us? Not sure. Do we have the money? Can we do it? Who's going to come? I don't know. And they can do that for 5 years and still just be them and their beautiful children in their living room talking about this great church. Or they could say, oh no, we know. We don't hope we're going to have one. We don't just believe we're going to have one. We know we're going to have one. And all of us are here because of that knowing. So what about you? Why does it work any different in your life? It's because I don't know that we totally believe. Look back in Matthew chapter 7. Good stuff. In verse 7, this is a familiar passage. It says, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, he who seeks finds, and him who knocks the door will be open. Which of you of his son asks for bread will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will give him a snake? If you then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. But this sums up the law and the prophets. Jesus breaks it down. He says, you want to know how simple this is? It's so simple. Ask, it's yours. Seek, and you'll find. I promise. Test me in this. Knock, I promise you my Father will open the door. He always opens when you knock. Amen. But we have life that gets in the way and it clutters up, and those 50,000 unique thoughts in a row every day, day after day after day after day, you know what they turn into? Beliefs. A belief is nothing more than a thought that's been run through the mind so many times that it becomes a fact for you. And you start seeing things that are not there. A very drastic form of this is anorexia. If you've ever known somebody, or if you've ever been somebody that struggled with that mental disorder, a beautiful little girl looks in a mirror and all she sees is I'm overweight, and everybody else is scared to death that she's going to starve herself. She's skin and bones, but in the mirror she sees weight, which is true. See, a belief is nothing more than a thought. Jesus sent the centurion away and said, go, it'll be done just as you believed it would. Now that's a blessing or a curse, right? Because what do you believe? If you believe things never work out for you, then they don't. Right. If you believe that you're never in the right place at the right time, then you're not. Well. If you believe good things don't happen to people like you, then they don't. God can't make you believe anything. Right. That's up to you what you believe. So guess what we start doing? We start changing the 50,000 thoughts that I get to choose. Nobody chooses my thoughts for me. But I've got habits that are in place after years and years and years and years and years of doing the same thing. The other day I put my son in the car. We were going to see a movie. That was my desire. That was my intention, to go see a movie. Some of y'all know Cole. He's 18 now. We're going to see a movie, right? And so I get in the car and we start talking. And then the subconscious takes over, right? Because I'm talking to my son, we're going down, taking a left, going down to a stoplight, putting on a blinker, talking, chopping it up, going down, getting on the freeway, Uncle Exodus and exiting. All this is going on. We're talking, I'm focused on him. I'm not focused on where I'm going. We're supposed to be going to a movie, right? Finally, I take 2 lefts and a right and 2 lefts and another exit, and all of a sudden I end up and I stop the car and I look over and guess where I am? Starbucks. Oh, don't judge my caffeine habit like y'all don't go. My brain took me to Starbucks and I wanted to go to the theater. Now, why did it do that? Habit. My brain turned itself off and said, we got you, boss. We know where you want to go. It took me right to Starbucks. And I can't lie. I pull up and they go, all right, Jet, would you like the regular? I'm like, But here's the problem. That's kind of funny. And I did go ahead and, while I was there, I did my Americano. Then we went to the movie. But see, you might have some habits in place that have nothing to do with faith. Have nothing to do with love. You might be operating out of fear more than love. Wow. You might be operating out of habit or even addiction. And I'm not saying it's an alcohol, drug, sex addiction. I'm just talking about an addiction, a habit that is so ingrained that you don't even know. It'll take you to Starbucks when you don't even want to go. Are those habits reinforcing your dreams? Because if he says, all you've got to do is ask and it's yours, then why don't we ask? And I think probably 90% of the people in here probably just thought to yourself, asking's not the problem. I'm asking all the time. Raise your hand if you're asking. You praying? You asking for things in prayer? Amen. Here's the question. Are you seeking? How many of us pray in the morning and then complain throughout the day? Pray in the morning and then worry throughout the day. Pray in the morning and then be stressed out and anxious throughout the day and look for evidence of why he doesn't answer my prayers. Right. And he says, are you kidding me? You asked me this morning, then you didn't go and look. And the blessing is bumping into you. Wow. That's right. And you're so focused on what I can't do that you don't see what I am doing. Right. Wow. Give you a couple examples. We're going to close. The other day I had to do a motivational speech. And I said had to because I love what I do. I'm a motivational speaker and have my own nonprofit. And we just bought a building downtown in the roughest neighborhood in Atlanta called Lakewood. I mean, so much going on. We're traveling around, going to prisons around the country and even overseas. And God's got, he's doing so much. And it's just a wonderful life. But every now and then you have a bad day. Imagine like to be a motivational speaker and be in one of those ruts. I got to speak in 2 hours. And I'm like, life kind of sucks. That's not a good message. Motivational speakers have bad days too. So I was in one of those funks, you know, and so I did exactly what you would do. I pulled up YouTube. Music, you know, music to make me feel better. And if you're in a bad mood, you would have pulled up the same exact song that I did. Say it with me. Earth, Wind, and Fire. Come on, man. Do you remember? So I fill it up, and I'm listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire, and I'm jamming, and all of a sudden it's starting to feel better. Music, man, it touches the soul. You know what I'm saying, sister. Sing it with me. So I'm feeling a little better, and all of a sudden everything's feeling, I am a good guy. I can do this. Yes, life is good. I'm going to go, yes, I'm going to get fired up, you know. But YouTube knows what you like. So, you know, it suggests things down the side. Those that know about YouTube, guess what mine always pulls up? Prison shows. And I see one and it says, Russian prisons, toughest in the world. That gets my attention. You know what gets attention? Fascinating little part of the brain that's shaped about like that. It's called the reticular activating system. It's the thing that allows you to see black Cadillac Escalades if you happen to be in the market for a black Cadillac Escalade, and all of a sudden they're around you all the time. You know what I'm talking about? Young people, it's why you notice certain tennis shoes. When you want some, you start going, oh, you got some. That's the reticular. Well, mine notices prison stuff. And so I look down and I'm like, Russian prisons. And I get this moment of clarity. I got to go to Russian prisons. Wow. And so I call my buddy. Now notice, thoughts become things. What I focus on expands. Words create our worlds. I call my buddy Gary, and I'm like, Gary, we got to go to Russian prison. And he's like, we don't got to do anything. He says, you got a frog in your pocket? I ain't going to Russian prison. So I'm like, well, I got to go to Russian prison. All right, so I had a thought, and I supported it with some language, and then I let it go. And then I want you to see what happens next. What you think about. Thoughts become things. All you've got to do is speak it. And then this amazing, mysterious universe begins to do what it does because God created it that way. Amen. Everything in your life you have brought to yourself one way or another. With me? Mm. So here's what happens next. I leave it alone. All I said is I'm going to go to Russian prison. And then I left it alone. I get called to do a corporate gig the next week that I wasn't supposed to do, but somebody got sick and they called me to come in and speak. I feel bad for that man getting sick, but it provided an opportunity for me. I get there and I start doing my gig, and it's a big corporate event. There's all these people out there. Little do I know there's a man in the crowd that's not supposed to be there. His son said, hey, I heard this guy kid's coming. You ought to come. And so an older gentleman sitting in the crowd, and he's not supposed to be there. You see the magic starting to happen? I get done with my gigs, I start selling books, people are lining up, I'm signing things, meeting people, shaking hands, and all of a sudden this short, beautiful little man walks up to me, and he says, hello, my name is Leonid Sergeyov. And I was like, you're kidding me. He's like, I am from Russia. And I'm like, really? What do you think I'm thinking about? He goes, I have a proposal for you. Would you like to go to Russian prison? And I said, yes. And he goes, you don't understand. I cannot find any American who will go to Russian prison. I said, yes. He said, you still do not understand. I myself never been to Russian prison. I'm like, oh, snap. 2 weeks later, we're all best friends, getting all the paperwork done. He took me to prison in the former Soviet Union. Wow. How did that happen? Why did it happen so quick? Wow. Because that's how God does it. He's not only got all the power, but I want you to see this. He's eager. He wanted to go to that man's house. You'd have to twist his arm. And when I said, this is crazy. You can pray and pray and pray and pray and pray. Or you can just realize that you have desires and just say, help me out with that, Lord. He says, ask and it'll be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock. Are you knocking? How bad do you want what you say you want? Don't tell me that you want to get in better financial position, but you're not working smarter or harder. That's great. You're not asking and then going out and you're searching. You know how powerful prayer is when you search for the answer instead of just complaining? And lastly, this is it, and then I'm going to close. I know I keep saying it. Verse 1 of chapter 8. It says, when he came down the mountainside, large crowds followed him. A man with leprosy came and knelt before him and said, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. I am willing, he said, be clean. Immediately he was cured of his leprosy. Then Jesus said, see that you don't tell anyone, but go and show yourself to the priest and offer the gift Moses commanded as a testimony to them. Jesus is, again, surrounded by people. He's busy. And here comes a leper. Lepers had to wear tattered clothing as a sign. They had to cover their face. And when they came into a town, they had to yell, unclean, unclean, to give everybody a chance to get out of the way. This man had probably forgotten what human touch felt like. And here comes this man to the most important person in the world, with more on his plate than any of us will ever imagine. He's worried about a universe and everybody in it, and here comes one leper with a need. I want to be clean. Jesus had just got finished telling the crowd, ask and it'll be given to you, seek and you'll find, knock and the door will be open. And this leper is doing all three. He's asking the right person, he's seeking a healing, and he's knocking, asking, will you please help me? But notice what he says. This goes back to authority. He says, if you are willing, I know you can make me clean. The question is, are you willing? And that's what I want to ask you today. Do you believe God is willing? That he's eager, not just that he's got all power. Nobody in here would probably argue that God has all power. Every religion believes that.
Right.
Hindus, Muslims, Buddhists, Jews, Christians, everybody believes he's an all-powerful God that can do anything. Do you believe he's eager? And do you believe he's willing? The answer is you. Does your little request move him? I'm telling you it does. If you believe that, he's got all the power and he's eager, and he looks at the man, he says, filled with compassion, he looks at the man and says, I am willing, be clean. If he cares about a leper, you don't think he cares about you? I was in a prison in Alabama, and I was in a death row block. 24 men sentenced to die. Dark, dank, smelly, roof leaking, cell block with a common shower in the middle and 24 little 8x10 cells. And there are men there that have gotten the ultimate penalty. They're waiting on a lethal injection or electric chair. That's the last choice they'll make. And a man walks up to me, and I don't know him because I hadn't been there many times at this point, but I meet this guy for the first time. And there's all these men that are all death row inmates in Alabama, and there's a few of us volunteers, and all these guys are wearing white. And a man walks up to me, and they call him Psycho. He's got tattoos, his head's shaved bald, his eyes are kind of shifty. He's missing some teeth. He walks up to me, he gets uncomfortably close. You ever know somebody like that gets like real close to your face, and you back up and they move forward? That was this guy. So Psycho comes up to me and he goes, hey, I want to talk to you, Mr. Kid. And I was like, okay, what you want to talk about? And he said, I don't want to talk right here. I want to talk over there. And I'm like, okay. So I start following Psycho, the double murderer, over to a place of his choosing away from the witnesses. And I'm in a place in my life where this seems like a good idea. And so we go up underneath these stairs in the dark. Psycho under the stairs. Sounds like a book, doesn't it? So we're underneath these stairs and it's dark and we can't see anybody and he's real close. He begins to tell me what he did. And he tells me I did it. What they're going to do to me, I got it coming. And his eyes begin to fill with tears. And tears begin to flow over his teardrop tattoos. And he looks at me and he says, I got a question for you, preacher. And I was like, what can I do? He said, can your God save a man like me? That's a good question. Can your God save a man like Psycho? Does he fit into our body?
Wow.
He said, I want to get right with God before they take me. I don't know how much time I got. I got to know, is it possible? Do you serve a God that can have compassion even for a man like Psycho? Because see, if his love is that big and his grace is that amazing, what if we got up here and sang Amazing Grace, but instead of amazing we said, oh, so grace, it's okay, it's not too bad. You know, it saves the best and the brightest if they'll come to church and go through a stay series. But only if they fit in my box and see things exactly the way that I do. That's so grace. Wow. Amazing grace. That's right. Amen. Do you need to get people to come to church? Please do. Do you need to study with them? Yes. Open the Bible, let them see. Love them, help them. But good grief, do you see how big he is? Yes. He's got all authority. He's eager. He's willing. And I said, now this is why I'm so glad I'm in the place I'm at now. I jumped forward. And I said, yes, he can save a man like you. Because he saved a man like me. A drunken, fallen preacher that has lost his plans. God saved me still. Amen. You can create the life of your dreams, but you got to start thinking differently. You got to start speaking differently. And you got to get out and walk differently and look for your answer. That's right. Amen. It's right in front of you. Just let him bless you. You deserve a miracle too. Just like the leper, just like Psycho. I appreciate you guys listening today. Y'all been awesome. God bless you.
Amen. Amen.
Again, thank you so much. Let's give one more hand.